I just want to talk a little bit about my life and a few of the times that God's really helped me. So when I was young, I was actually only 7 years old. I remember very clearly sitting in church and hearing somebody talk about the sacrifice that Christ made for me, and I knew at that instant that I had to respond to it. The funny thing was, I was sitting next to my brother, and we were both good kids, and he elbowed me when I put my hand up. He's like, "You don't need to do that." But I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I needed God in my life. So I put my hand up and I prayed a prayer asking God to forgive me of my sins. But to say that that would be the last time that I've had to make a decision to serve God would be a lie. So from that time when I was 7 years old and I made that decision to live for Christ, I've had to remake that decision throughout my life in small ways, like not swearing when my friends offered to pay me in year 5 to swear. Medium ways, like in year 12 when I chose not to date unsaved or somebody who wasn't a Christian. And then in really big ways when I chose to forgive someone who really hurt and betrayed me, even when it seemed like it wasn't justified. So throughout my life, I have continuously chosen to live for God and to choose Him as my Lord. And I have never, ever regretted that decision. He's blessed me in so many ways. So I just want to share quickly one of the ways that God's really helped me, because Christians don't lead easy, perfect lives, but the difference is having Christ in that. So earlier this year, I'm 23 years old. And within a space of about 3 or 4 weeks, I had 2 really tragic things happen to 2 very, very close friends who were both 23 years old. So, it still feels like we've only just left high school, and already one of my friends lost her babies. She lost them at 21 weeks of pregnancy. And then a couple of weeks later, I found out that a girl I went to school with, who was a Christian, got married as a Christian to a Christian person, was going through a divorce. And that really threw me. And I remember thinking to God, I'm 23. I shouldn't have friends losing their babies, and I shouldn't have friends going through divorces. These are Christian people that this is happening to. And I'm a Christian. Why is this happening? And I remember just crying and crying at home, and just saying to my husband words that I never thought would leave my mouth. And I said, why do people have children? Why would you bring a child into such a pain-filled world? Why would I do that? And he just said calmly and wisely to me, because there has to be hope. And at that time, in all my pain, that didn't sink in right away. But the next day I was driving to work and thinking that through, and God used those words to just powerfully touch my life and say, being a Christian gives you hope. You have hope in eternity, and if there was no Christians in the world, if there was no hope in Christ, then we would be left in our pain. And we would be left in the pain of the situations that happen to us. But because you have Christ, even a situation like losing your children, God can glorify and comfort you through those times. And that was such a changing point in my life, because I grew up knowing and reading words in the Bible that hope is there. But it was the first time that God, through pain and through suffering, showed me that despite that, I could have a hope and a joy despite anything that happened in this world. And I'm so happy to say that God gave me such a strength of belief in that hope that I'm now having my own child, and I have such faith and joy for the future of that child, because I know that God has a plan for it, and that child can be a light in a world that is so filled with darkness and pain. And I just want to tell you tonight that if you feel like there is no hope, if you feel like that all you see around you is despair and suffering, then you need to turn to Christ rather than blaming Him for it, because He is the only way that you can find comfort in this pain-filled world.